Conversations on Dance is proud to have Yumiko as a continued partner in 2021. Yumiko is a company inspired by beauty and standards. As a leader in the dancewear industry, they take great pride in their impact as a socially and environmentally conscious brand. And today we have big news. In honor of springtime's arrival, Yumiko is offering a special in-store discount to our New York City listeners. Show that you are subscribed to Conversations on Dance at checkout and receive a 10% discount on your in-store purchase. For store hours, visit yumiko.com and be sure to follow along on Instagram at Yumiko to participate in their weekly giveaways and to stay updated on all things 2021. I'm Rebecca King-Ferraro.
And I'm Michael Breeden, and you're listening to Conversations on Dance.
This week on the Conversations on Dance podcast, we are joined by Martha Graham Dance Company principal dancer Xin Ying. Ying was born in China and began dancing at the age of 6, taking classes in Chinese folk dance. At just 15, she entered college, and after graduating, she went on to teach dance at the Sichuan University of Culture and Arts. After years of teaching, she decided that she wanted to travel to further her understanding of dance, then bring that knowledge back to her students. Ying received funding from her university to travel to New York City and attend the Martha Graham School of Contemporary Dance. From there, her love for the Martha Graham technique blossomed. She would go on to take a position in the second company and then join the main company in 2011. We talk with Ying about her training and education in China, her incredible career trajectory, what made her fall in love with the Graham technique, and what this past year has been like for her. We recorded this episode on Friday, April 30th, before the company's return to live shows this past weekend. For more information on the company's live and virtual programming, please visit marthagraham.org.
Ying, thank you so much for joining us. It's such a pleasure to have you on the podcast, and we're looking forward to getting to hear all about your career. But we're going to start, as we always do at the very beginning, with what first sparked your interest in dance?
First spark. I think I was a very energetic child, so my mom was trying to find something to channeling, my that side, because I was just always dancing in front of the TV and trying to do a fashion show with my dirty coat, all that. So she just she actually sent me to like a piano lesson first, and I just couldn't really sit still from the piano. Then I think some of her friends just saying, "Oh, maybe take her to dance class." And I just remember once I walked in the door, I was the youngest student in the whole class. I don't even have like ballet slippers. I was wearing sneakers at the time because it's just like a trial run.
Right.
So one in there, we're doing this like pointing flags. And somehow I know that it's right for me, because I know even I was young, 5, 6 years old, but I know exactly what to do. I'm pretty sure I did a handstand. That's the very first class. I just feel, oh, this is the right place for me. Like this is so fun. I can control my body. Let my body do what I, imagined or what the teacher telling me. So it just felt right. Like I fit right in. Then that was it.
Right.
So you started with ballet class, or what kind of dance training were you doing at the beginning?
It's kind of like a combination, because in China, we have a little ballet, because very early on, Russian came over to set out the ballet. So ballet was kind of like the base of all the basic dance training. Like that will be the base, but they will change up a little bit. For example, classic Chinese dance, like bars. We also have bars. We have the very tendu, but it's upper body. We're all using like Chinese classical gestures and positions. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's like top half is like Chinese, and
I wish everyone
a lot of ballet.
I wish everyone could see what you're doing, because you're doing
It's
such
so beautiful
port de bras while indicating what the style is like. That's so cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you knew that you wanted to dance from the time you were 5 or 6, but how did that keep going? How did you pursue it with an idea, like a mind towards like, I'm going to become a dancer? Like, what was your training like? And what kind of ideas did you have about what your future might be as a professional dancer?
When I was 6 years old, I just think I'm gonna be a dancer. Like one of those moments. I'm gonna be a dancer. I think that's my like a destiny, and I'm gonna just go from there. It lasted pretty long actually, like because my mom sent me to a dance school, so I kind of keep it in the on track the whole time until like I went to college, dance major, all that. Until when you're really facing the time you're gonna choose your career.
Yeah.
Right. Like you did all the training, then now you can choose. You either be a dancer or be a dance teacher and at that moment I just, because of all the reality, like dancer just not really quite an option in China at the moment. As a professional dancer, you're either in like a government-owned military dance company. That would be the best job. It's very stable. You always have like work, and otherwise it's not quite a free market like out there for a dancer. Yeah, now it's much like there are so many amazing like dance company, like private dance company there. So I just kind of dropped my dream, just thinking, okay, now I graduated from college, I just find a stable job. So I took a job in college, art college, teach dance, and then my dream was just being put on hold. Not even put on hold. In my head is that's done.
Wow.
I will never become like a real professional dancer anymore. So I was a teacher in the college for many years, actually.
Wow.
I went to college when I was 15 years old. Then after I graduated when I was 19,
wow,
I become a dance teacher in college. And now they're thinking, yeah, that's probably my life.
Right. Well, I think it's so interesting because, well, just speaking from personal experience, now that I teach, you think of like your mind, your approach to dancing itself. You always think like, gosh, like I wish, I had known this or thought about this while I was dancing. So how do you think like those years as a teacher then later shaped you as a dancer?
The thing is, when I'm teaching, like I kind of have because when I was teaching in that college, it's a Sichuan culture and art college. I'm still have my position there. They didn't even have a dance major, so I can do pretty much whatever I want.
Okay.
That's how I tap into modern dance. I really like modern dance, but there are not a lot of resources actually exist in China. I had no idea what's Gram technique at the moment. I just know I want to do modern, so I do a lot like my own combination, just make things up. Instead, like people tell me you have to teach this, that, because in China there's a mainstream is Chinese classic dance. But I was just kind of worn out at the moment. I just like didn't really want to do that anymore. I think I was just so tired when I do Chinese classical. Like my teacher always tell me, you're not like a pretty enough. You have this really pretty face on you, being like very pretty at this moment, that moment. And when I was in the college, I wasn't really tall until like much later. I grew like much later in my lifestyle. I grew taller. They always telling me, "Oh, you're too short. You can't be a dancer. Too short and not pretty enough." So all that just making me feel like really, I don't want to do this anymore. So I actually making a lot of like combination in modern. That's also why later on, when I felt I have nothing to teach you anymore, I probably have to go out and learn more modern dance, then come back to teach you. So that's how it all started, actually. How to kind of regroup like what I really wanted and what is my dream when become more mature. I think that will be it. Teaching them and discovering what I need the most.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you went to Graham for the first time, was that with the idea, were you thinking then, I'm going to further my own education, then I'll come back and teach? Or did you go, like, did you find that dream of becoming a dancer again?
So in the beginning, it really just, I want to recharge. I wanted to learn more so I can be a better teacher. I was 25 years old at that moment. So I was being teachers for 6 years. So I thinking that will be my, that will be it.
Yeah.
I have like in China, when you pass 22, like when you graduate, I constantly hear this, like my students graduated from college, which is 22 years old, right? And they would say, oh, I'm too old to become a dancer. And I was like 25, and I was just starting to learn, how to like dance again, because in a completely different way. So so I just thinking I'm gonna just come here, learn about masogram technique, and then go back and teach for a year, like only 1 year study abroad, then go back to teach.
Right.
I have I'm going to rewind for just 1 second, because I do wonder, you were just talking about dancers in China graduating and then feeling like they're too old to be dancers. And of course, there's a culture within the US that you a similar thing. Like if you go to college, it's too late. What's the general career path for professional dancers? Do they generally go straight out of high school then to dance professionally, or is it much more common there to get your education first? Like
in the early on, art and like dance training is very concentrated, almost like much early on. After you graduate from elementary school, then you won't make a choice. You either go to the professional dance school, which is like when I was in the dance school, after it's kind of like 4 or 5 years program, which is including middle school and high school combination.
Okay.
So after that, you can just become a professional dancer.
Gotcha.
You can even join, if you are lucky enough, join the military, or national owned company, or you do something, just become a teacher or have your own private class, do that kind of thing.
Okay.
Now it's much better because high school is starting to open up for have more art education, have a like regular dance class to offer. But before it was very concentrated, almost like you're 12 years old, you have to choose your career.
Wow.
Then you go into this like concentrate, like training camp. Like I remember like you wake up from like 6 a.m. start the training until like 9, 10 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
Like the class throughout the day. And the academic is just like not important for you. So just like kick your legs, do the flip and dance. That's all you need to do.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Well, it's probably pretty easy to feel burned out from that and feel like you need something different.
Oh yeah, exactly.
How did you choose to look into Martha Graham, the Martha Graham School? Like there were many things you could have chosen. You could have gone anywhere in the world. How was that the spot that you had your eye on?
In the beginning, actually, after I got in college, you're starting to have more information because my teachers are really amazing. They will tell you, even there's not modern dance not really quite exist yet, but my teacher will tell us from the dance history class and tell you Martha Graham is mother of modern dance. And I just know a name. I had no idea what the technique looked like.
Right? Yeah.
Had no idea. Let me tell you the funny story. So when I just come to New York, I thought I'm getting into Martha Graham School, the best. If I want to learn modern dance, and I have to learn from the best. So Martha Graham, that's it.
Yeah.
What in the school expecting I'm actually gonna train in, so you thinking you can dance is very popular. It was very popular in China.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what I got myself into. So I'm gonna do all those like so good things. Suddenly the teacher started the class, you sit on the floor doing contraction release.
Yeah.
Oh
my
God. What I got myself into. Because there's a translation. That's a very interesting fact. The translation of modern dance and contemporary dance into Chinese, they're not quite a definition because we don't have enough, people teaching there to let you figure out what contemporary is, what modern is. So we just put them into one category, which is from like somewhere from the West, like
Okay.
modern culture, contemporary culture.
Right.
So it was very confusing. But I'm glad I was just thinking, oh yes, Martha Graham. So now when people ask me, I just tell them because I know Martha Graham is the best, so I have to learn from the Martha Graham, which is true. Yeah. I did not expect that's what I was getting myself into.
So after it blew away your expectations and you were kind of like, oh, wow, this is a wholly different beast. This is very different. When did you start to really fall in love with it? And how did you feel like your body adapted to it?
In grammar technique, there's a lot like core training. So actually making me feel like it makes sense. Suddenly I feel my body makes sense. Instead, in Chinese classic dance, I still love Chinese classic dance, by the way. It's not like I hate it, but no, that's a part of me. It's in my bone, my blood. I cannot never get rid of it.
Right.
But I can be using it in a way I like to use. Instead, other people have to tell me you have to breathing so beautifully. Or just like have to have this like constantly pretty face expression on your face. And in Gram, they tell you the expression comes from the core, from your gut. Then they tell you can be sad, you can be angry, you can be jealous, but all those emotions come from your core. I just like, what? I can actually, be sad and angry as a woman character, I've seen the character, for example, like Medea. I mentioned this quite a bit. She's such a bad woman, like as a villain in Chinese people's mind, because she's a woman who killed her own child. That's like unforgiving sin. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
But Mother Graham actually put her in center stage as the main character, telling you how did she go into that, crazy and going to that point. And then all that technique shows from the center. And that just making me like, when I'm talking about it, just every time I got chills, and it making me feel, oh, I can be so real, so human. And I guess I just always consider myself, how can you fit in, be the beauty, the pretty face everybody expecting you to be, dressing a certain way, how you behave a certain way. And Martha Graham technique and the whole experience taught me how to be a woman and be myself. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. So when you're obviously you're falling in love with it, you're loving this new way of moving and exploring yourself as a dancer, but what about like the practicality of it? Like at what point did you think like, oh, I might get into the company, and at what point did they offer it? And then how was that transition? You're on this one journey where you're finding like this love, but then there are real components to it. Like you have to decide, okay, I'm not going to go back to China and be a teacher anymore. How did that, like the logistics of it all, how did that play out?
I have to say I got a lot of support from the college I was working at, and they supported me the first year financially.
Wow.
Of course, they expect me to come back to
bring the knowledge back.
Then suddenly, I just remember making a phone call, really shaking. I just because at the time I was offered full scholarship from the second company, Gram 2. And of course, that would be a decision making. But I was telling them, just a student company, but I got a full scholarship. I think it's a really good opportunity for me to actually, train a little more with them. I did not expect to get in the company at all. I remember when I just got in the school, I was putting in after the first trial round, like the test, the audition, I was be put in the 0 level. The elementary level, because I had no idea about technique.
Right.
And so they had the host of Gram 2 audition at the same time. And I didn't even go, because I just thinking, I'm so ashamed, because it feels like I don't know how to dance. How can I do an audition? Then somehow I get into the company after, like I picked up pretty quick, I have to say.
Yeah.
Then I got in the company after second company after 1 semester, I think, as an apprentice. Then after a year, they offered me full scholarship. And similar time, I think just a little bit later, Janet, after one class, Janet told me, do you want to work for us as an apprentice in the company for our upcoming season? I was just like, fine, yes, please. And that's a moment, that's a seed. Like I had almost a validation telling me, you're kind of on the right track. Maybe rethink a little bit. But for me, that's a huge decision because I had a life in China. I had a very stable career for 5-6 years. I was married at the time because my mom was very keen to let me settle down first because she really thinking that will be the best life for me because she always not like having very stable life. So for her, in her mind, it's you get a very stable job, get a very, a reliable husband, financially very stable. You will live a very comfortable life. This is the best I can do for you.
Yeah.
So I actually got married in June, then left in August to America.
Wow.
So that's, because that kind of is a deal. If you don't get married and you just left, then what's the guarantee or insurance you can give to the other person?
Right. Yeah.
Then in my head, just like this impossible dream. Should I pursue it? Like try if I can get in the company after this apprentice period with the company, and just tell people in China, this will be, what I'm choosing.
Right.
I have to give up all that. Everything will be leave behind. Wow. And my mom just think I'm crazy, and she just thinking she had no idea who Martha Graham is. Like in her head, I probably just like washing dishes somewhere and just lying to her.
Oh my gosh.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
She's like, what Martha Graham? What are you talking about?
Oh my goodness.
Then between us, our relationship always been very tight from the beginning because she's raised me as a single mother. So she had so much expectation for me. Suddenly I just become my own person. Right. That for her, it's like crushed her. Right. Until few years actually later on, we start to get better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's great. I mean, I can imagine that must be really, it's such a different path from what she would have expected for you.
Oh yeah.
But from your end, you had this whole other life, and now all of a sudden you're in a company. Like, what was your first performance like? How emotionally overwhelming must that have been? Like, it's just so different from any expectation you had.
Yes. The first time going on stage with a world famous company, and just less than a couple years before, I was just a teacher in a small town. I remember that day. Of course, the performance much later. So we had I took a nap at noon. I remember I had this worst dream. Like my rehearsal director yelling at me because I'm doing the wrong thing. She wanted to change the choreography, telling me to jump here and jump there. I was like, I don't know if I can do that. It's just all stressed, But it was so nerve-wracking. Now I just think it's so silly because I was doing the very little role, just really small part in the course.
Right.
And I was so nervous. But the feeling when you go on the stage with my fellow dancers and the light hits you and you feel you're in a different world. And I feel I was that little girl again. And, I was telling myself, I'm going to be a dancer. And that's it. That's what you should go. Yeah.
How much performance experience had you had up to that point? Like did you perform when you were in school and when you were in college before you started teaching, or was this one of your first?
I performed, but always, big celebration, which is a lot of people. And we perform quite a bit here and there, but it's very different. It's not modern dance. It's a folk dance or Chinese classic dance. It's completely different thing. You just go there and be pretty and just happy.
Sounds more casual, kind of.
Yeah, very casual.
Right.
And my first thing I performed was a chronicle with the 1936 anti-war all-woman cast. That's my first
That's
show.
your first thing. That's really stamina-wise very hard for everyone in the work, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's like the hardest piece for female dancers, like in the company.
Mhm.
So that will be a task for you.
Right. I love that. I mean, I just that work is so beautiful, and you feel it kind of reminds me of like Serenade for ballet dancers. It's like you feel the whole company like really on the same wavelength, like they're all feeding off each other. Everyone's in it to like, you have to be in it together to get through it. It's that hard.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. Every entrance when you come off, because you're jumping, you're turning, you come off, and then the dancer will like pump each other up. We got this. Go. Like just backstage, you hear like people doing this kind of cheering each other up. Yeah.
And that's so cool too to hear you talking like about having like a full female cast with a lot of dancing. I think one thing that like Michael and I like particularly about Balanchine is how so many of the cast dances a lot. There's a lot of times that the corps does what the principals do. And that's one thing that draws us to that style a little bit more than maybe a classical ballet, being a Giselle, doing Willies, stuff like that. So is that something that you kind of felt that drastic difference too, where you were like, wow, no matter where I am in this company, even on my first performance, I can be such an integral part of this work?
Oh, 100%. Because in Guam's work, the course, a lot of times, so many pieces. The course has the most amazing choreography.
Right.
Like she, that's also another part. I love her work so much. She using women, different type of women in their own way. Like we have this, we call the pops, like pops is a little shorter lady to do, very strong, but they have this like amazing fast jumps. And then another line, we have the Amazon woman, which is for a taller lady to do. They're like lined up, they're the warriors. And that just making me feel, remember like my teacher was telling me I was too short. You can dance this, like you can probably not gonna be a professional dancer because you're just not tall and pretty enough. And now you feel I can be anything. Like it just be me. You're good enough.
Yeah.
You're like strong enough.
And
I think that's
beautiful.
I think that's such a hallmark of the Graham Company. You guys are also individual. That's totally what I fell in love with straight away. It was just like everyone. No dancer in the company could be mistaken for another dancer. Like there's no, it's not cutouts. Everyone is really themselves, and yet when you're on stage together, the whole makes sense. It's so beautiful. So what were some of your first featured roles then?
My first was the lady in red in Diversion of Angels. I still love that role. Just I one was in Guam too. That actually is a role who kind of caught Jenna's attention, I believe. In Guam too, I was featured in that role. And she saw me, she just thinking, maybe we can give this girl a shot. Actually, I just joined the company, then she already gave me that role. I doing course work still, but actually did that role with the principal dancer.
Wow.
And I just remember I was dancing with the principal dancer, Marizio Mardi. That was the time I was dancing with him. I just got so nervous. I was running into him with this jittery, like smiling on my face because I have no idea. I'm too excited. Like I'm just too excited to dance with you. And he was like, calm down. Just calm down. That energy, it's not going to work.
Right.
You got to throw yourself off, just have to calm down. So, and in the beginning, I remember very early on, I got a review for this role. The review will say I'm the yellow girl trying to be red. No, yellow is a young, naive character because we have 3 colors in the
I gotcha.
There's a yellow, the naive, the excitement, the butterfly, right? In your heart. Then the red is the passion, made of you're grabbing each other's hand and you feel the temperature. Then the white, it's spiritual, like, it's come to another level. But for me, I had no idea. I had no idea what the real passion is at the time. I just starting to discover and become a woman. I was like, even I was 25, 26, 27, I still feel like very immature in that level. And Janet told me, you're not just expecting someone to love you, you're expecting that excitement. You're in the middle of it. And suddenly my head just changed, like in the middle of it. Not like, oh my God, I'm so excited. No, it's not.
You're already there.
You're literally holding this body in your arms. What's the temperature like? What that feeling is. That just boom, like opens a whole another like door for me.
Right.
Then you got into, got a review tell you, wow, passionate red lady, aesthetic lady trying to be yellow. I was calling myself lady in orange for a long time. Yeah.
That's good.
Well, it must be so interesting to kind of, so your whole life you were interested in the movement of dance, and now suddenly you're introduced to this world where you can express yourself and like have those sorts of emotions. How do you feel that you were kind of like learning, like Janet Elber, you're saying the artistic director was helping you. Who else was kind of giving you some guidance in terms of like developing that artistic part of yourself?
All the teachers in Guam school, like if you're a Guam teacher, you cannot just teach the technique because the technique is so just tied up with your physical emotion and how to be a human even, and they show. All my teachers are from the old time dancers from the company, and they pass down that. And my rehearsal director Denise, well, like she's crazy lady, but she's crazy good. She will like really give you some like that toughness she inherited from back then. I think all that it's a blood and sweat for doing Guam. You can have to have some of that, become
That's really
Denise.
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 I love Denise. She helped me on the auditions. We were side by side every day. We
always hear about her from
we're gonna get her on. She was supposed to be on the podcast at one point, but it just didn't happen. We're gonna get her. I mean, that'll be amazing. The stories she has.
She will try to break you. As a new dancer, she will try to break you first. Then one day she will say, okay, you graduate. Okay, now you are your own person.
That's a good coach.
And I was just thinking about that because for Janet, she was an actress. I don't know, she never told people that, but you can find the movie she's in. So she knows how to do the acting part. How actually, sometimes you get too emotional in your own head, but physically it doesn't show. Right. And she knows how to channeling that. I learned so much from her on that part. And still like she's how to become an actress.
Right. I mean, I knew that she was an actress, but I didn't even think about how obviously that it would work so well with everything that like the Graham works demand.
Graham work is such like acting is, I don't know, at least 50% of it.
Yeah. So, obviously it's been a very different year. But what have you been able to do? How have you been able to stay, to feed this side of you, this artistic side of you, even though, COVID has shuttered theaters everywhere? Like what does your past year as a dancer under COVID look like?
It's been so hard, of course, for anyone. I was teaching dance class. I'm teaching in school as well. Just seeing my students' face on Zoom, it just feels so sad. You're trying to cheer them up. You guys are great, amazing, do this and that, beautiful. But you feel shitty in that little square, right? Of course you do. I totally get that. And you just kind of you feel like you are trying to survive under a rock. And that reminds me of a tree. Like we heard this legend from the older Guam generation. That used to be a tree in Guam Center, like Guam School up east side. And actually growing out from the fence. They just kind of, because the fence all over it. Then the tree just somehow reached out
Through
and
it.
flew through the fence, reaching into the sunlight. I guess that's just how it is. Like singing dancers, we never really know how to film ourselves or do social media. Suddenly, you gotta do what you have to do. You become a director. You do like creative stuff. You're dancing outside. You exploring different light and surface. Like before, if the surface is not good, you never dance on it. Now you do whatever you can do.
Right.
Dancing.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. You just feel like you're under a rock, so much weight and so much pressure and stress around you, but you're just trying to survive that. Like just thinking, we had no money, no income.
Right.
We're living unemployment for so long, but none of us gave up. When they said, come back, everybody shows up in the studio.
Right.
Even we're slightly out of shape, but it's like, we're going to get back on track, no doubt.
Yeah.
Even we probably won't ever 100% go back where we were. Just the whole world is changing so much around us. But we know we developed so much other abilities to adapt into a new situation.
Yeah.
I think we're more capable of surviving, I would say. After this. Yeah.
Did you do anything like an interesting project like you're talking about, any sort of film, something that was new and different that you maybe wouldn't have done otherwise?
Yeah, I did a lot of collaborations with musicians and films. I did this film for the Come Match. It just not too long ago with another 4 choreographers and almost 50 dancers all around the world involved in the project. Wow. That's amazing. That's what I'm talking about. It will never happen before.
Right.
And suddenly everybody can just, how about you shoot a video or make something up for us, and we tell like 20 dancers from this part of the country or that part of the world can learn this choreography. Yes, please. Yeah, and I do a lot of my own improv, if you know. That's like one thing keep me insane. Yeah, that's like one thing I continuing, like that's just something I have to do to make myself happy, even there's nothing else going on.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the future looking like? When are you back on stage in a gram work, giving us all that passion and intensity?
I actually did a few shows, like compared to other dancers. I actually did a couple of shows for Gram Company in the studio live streaming from December, January, November, did like 3 or 4 already. And we are actually get on stage this very weekend for our 95th season. Virtual, of course, live streaming. So I'm dancing today. I'm gonna go into the studio and perform.
Yay!
What are you dancing?
I'm doing Conversation of Lovers with Lloyd Knight. It's one of my favorite duets. And I doing another 2 solos called Immediate Tragedy. It's Lost Solo we recovered with Janet. Yeah.
Wow.
It's from 1937. I think, 1937 is based on the Spanish War background. And then another solo satiric festival song, which is another classic. She just, she's this clown. She's all happy and making fun of herself. She'll wiggle her butt and point her like big toe and tell everybody, this is art, this is modern art. It's some like good classics and some new as well.
So you mentioned that it's going to be live streamed. Is that going to live on the internet afterwards? Like our listeners could watch it if they wanted to check it out?
Oh, yes, totally. It's going to last for a while, I believe. So it's not too late to get your access.
Great. We'll definitely be tuning in ourselves too. Well, that's so wonderful. I'm so glad that you're back. Bit by bit, getting to perform, even if it's virtual and, live streamed and all that. But I know that, very soon you're going to have that audience out there and they're going to completely feed off your energy as a performer.
I cannot wait. We did one live performance in Guggenheim, actually.
Oh,
right.
It was recently, right?
Yeah, it was very recently. I forgot to tell you that. That's so exciting because that's the first performance after the whole pandemic thing, and that was my last performance, live performance. One was pregnant as well. One was like 31 weeks pregnant.
God.
I danced with Caleb T-shirts, his company, and different artists, and I performed there with Frankie, my ballet. And then a year and a half later, she was, my husband was with her in the audience, and we performed there again. It's so
that's beautiful.
So exciting to hear real audience too.
Right.
When you bow, there's a real
applause.
You can hear the excitement from the audience because they are so starved as well. They yes, that's performance.
I realized that we didn't talk about your motherhood journey. Now, what was the trajectory like in terms of the pandemic? Were you pregnant when the pandemic started? Or were you back to dancing? How did that work out time-wise?
Frankie was born just right before the whole pandemic blew up. She was born in February. We can already know something's going on. Then the whole shutdown just started.
So in a way,
right after,
at least you weren't missing anything, I guess, because you would have been
lucky.
And then you got extra time together.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very fortunate to spend more time with her than that's a blessing, definitely.
That is definitely lucky. It's not, it's not everyone gets to have that. I mean, you might have been back on stage,
exactly,
back to work.
Leave her,
right?
That would be the case if a pandemic didn't happen, for sure.
Right. So some upsides.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We can't wait to watch you perform in the live stream, and eventually see you on stage again.
Thank you for having me. It's really my pleasure.